don't have to, yeah, you don't have to. Yeah.
We'll call the regular city council meeting to order for June 20th, 2022. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Hoyt.
Here.
Councilmember Burnjum.
Here.
Councilmember Lean.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Porter.
Here.
All right, any changes to the agenda? Nick or Katie? Katie or Steve?
I have none.
None.
Nobody? Leah, Lynn, Julie, Chris, Sam? Nobody. Seeing no changes to the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Steve.
Second.
Second by Katie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. 5A is our announcements. Welcoming Parks Maintenance Worker Austin Holm and Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have the privilege tonight to introduce 3 new members to our team. First of all, I'm going to start with Jay. Jay Zeller is our new liquor operations clerk. Josh Solinger couldn't be here this evening, so I said I would take it for him since he did raise $15,000 for the Rambling River Center. Figured I owed it to him. So Jay started in mid-May. He is our newest liquor operations clerk, like I had mentioned. Josh had sent a couple notes to me, so I'm just going to read them. Jay has been a wonderful addition to the liquor operations team. His team first attitude and genuine kindness was immediately noticed. It feels like he has always been a part of the crew. There are many moving parts and processes in liquor operations, and he has picked up on them all very quickly. We are very fortunate to have Jay on our team. And Jay was most recently with Hy-Vee Liquors. Yeah. So welcome, Jay.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thanks for the opportunity to see everyone. Maybe haven't met you, but thank you for inviting me. And it's nice to be employed by the city of Farmington. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the team. We appreciate it.
And now I'd like to introduce Austin Holm. Austin Holm is our newest full-time park maintenance worker. He started with us 2 weeks ago, so he's on week 2. Previously, he was a seasonal park laborer for the city of Eagan. He also worked as a truck driver for a short period of time. He also owns his own landscaping and turf business, so comes with quite a bit of experience in turf, lawn care, shrubs. Great addition to our team. He's getting his feet wet with the parks, mowing, and get acclimated to all the parks. So just wanted to have you guys welcome Austin to our team.
Welcome, sir.
Hey, looking forward to joining the team and continue making Farmington as beautiful as it always has been.
Thank you.
Remember to stay hydrated, Austin.
I'm trying my best. I got my water
Week
with
2
me.
is baptism by fire, literally.
Right? Welcome to the
Thank
team.
you.
Thank you.
And we'd like to welcome Julie Flaten, HR Director, Assistant City Administrator, to the team as well. I know she had come to the last meeting to be introduced, but we wanted to welcome her as well.
Thank you. So day 3, so I'm still here.
She keeps coming back.
So I think we're doing well. So thank you very much, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome. All right. Always a good thing. Always a good thing. Adding staff and members of the team. So welcome to everyone. Thank you, especially for showing up this evening. So we appreciate that. Moving on, we will go to our citizen comments section. If there is anyone in attendance that wishes to speak, you can come up to the podium at this time. All right. If not, then we'll move on to item number 7, which is our consent agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Motion by Nick,
Second?
second by Katie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to item 10A, which is adopt resolution, preliminary and final plat and plan unit development for the Denmark Housing Edition. Tony.
All right, there we go. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Before you this evening is the preliminary final plat and PUD for the Denmark Housing Edition. The CDA, Dakota County CDA Community Development Agency, has submitted this plat. It consists of 40 unit townhome. townhomes over just over 6 acres of land. As far as the buildings are concerned, it includes 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units. We'll also include an office space and 2 tot lots on site as well. The net density is 7.4 units an acre. The property is zoned R3, which is our medium density residential. And as I previously mentioned, it will be developed as a planned unit development. The plat itself contains 1 lot and 1 outlot. Lot 1, block 1 is obviously where the 40 townhome units will be located, consists of 4.73 acres. And then outlot A, which is 0.67 acres, and is shown kind of on the north end of the plat itself that is shown up here, is a stormwater facility, basically an extension or expansion of the pond that was done with the legacy of Farmington to the north. This is the overall site plan for the development. Again, it's 40 units with one main access to the site, and that would be off of Denmark Avenue. This will be a shared access with the potential future development to the south. That's the Dakota Meadows development. A roadway easement will have to be obtained from the owner of that property to the south to ensure site access. Because at this point, we're not really sure when Dakota Meadows will start. It could be that the CDA starts before they get in the ground running. So, as far as the internal roadway, this will be a looped private street, and it will be 28 feet in width. We are proposing, or they are proposing, a secondary emergency access, very similar to what we talked about with Dakota Meadows. This would be provided near the northwest corner of the development and consists of a 20-foot wide heavy-duty bituminous trail, and this would be for emergency vehicles only. It would include a cable gate to be located at Denmark Avenue and collapsible bollards on the development side closer to the private street. Within the development itself, there will be a total of 110 parking spaces. This includes 4 accessible stalls, 26 standard stalls, 40 garage stalls, and 40 driveway stalls. Code would require a minimum of 80 spaces for a development of this size. It's based off of units, so they are providing over that amount. As far as park and trail requirement, the city will be taking cash in lieu instead of land dedication for this development. As I had mentioned, there are 2 private tot lots that are proposed in the central portion of the development. Trails are proposed throughout the central portion of the site. These will tie into the proposed trails within the Dakota Meadows development to the south as well. And then lastly, they will install a trail in the right-of-way of Denmark Avenue for the entire frontage of the development as well. So similar again to what we required of Dakota Meadows. Included in your packet, there is a planned unit development agreement. The proposed deviations that are outlined in that agreement, there are essentially 2. The allowance of private streets and then reducing the front yard setback to 22 feet versus the 25 feet that the code actually requires. The developer has reviewed that agreement and they do find it acceptable. Included here and in your packet, these are the elevations for the proposed buildings at this development. They're very similar to the existing ones that are on the east side of town in the Twin Ponds development. So they're very nice units, very well maintained. The CDA will be essentially the homeowners association, if you will. So they'll have staff that will take care of them, similar to what they do with Twin Ponds. So. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on the preliminary and final plat and planned unit development at their meeting on June 14th, and they did recommend approval with a 4-0 vote. The action as requested tonight is to adopt the attached resolution approving the preliminary and final plat and authorizing the signing of the planned unit development agreement for the Denmark Housing Addition contingent upon the following. That being number 1, the satisfaction of all engineering comments related to the construction plans for grading and utilities, and 2, a development contract between the applicant and City of Farmington shall be executed, and security fees, costs shall be paid. Submission of all other documents required under the development contract shall be required. So
Thank you,
Stand
sir.
for any questions.
Any questions?
So with the second access being emergency access only, is that something that would ever work as a second access for residents there? And the reason I ask that is just to be very cognizant of, again, being within that very close proximity to our school, a lot of walkers, bikers, and certain times of day that are very busy and congested with drop-off and pickup at Bachman. So just curious about that.
This is just for emergency access only
And always would remain that way.
and would always
Okay.
remain that way. That's the intent of it, correct?
Sorry, which one? The north one?
The north one.
Northwest.
Yep.
So, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So if you look here at the northeast or northwest corner, this is the trail that leads out to Denmark Avenue. So that's the emergency access.
So they will develop the abandoned railroad basically as the right of way, as the entrance there then? Sorry, I missed
Correct.
that
So
part.
if you look, and this might be a little light, but this is the access here that was planned as part of the Dakota Meadows. That would be their main access to and from this site, and being that it's a county road, there's certain access restrictions. And the county has reviewed this plat and they find these acceptable, so.
I would hope so. It's their project.
I was just saying, it's a project, right?
That does help a little bit.
What type of intersection then will go at the railroad in Denmark then?
This would be a full access.
But I mean, is it right in, right out? Is it?
No, it'd be
roundabout
full
stuff?
access.
Okay, so just.
Yep. Yep.
Did you have any other questions, Katie?
Well, I was trying to follow on the site plan, so forgive me, because these are always so small, so even zooming in, there is not a dedicated trail along Denmark at any point with the development or with the county future plans?
There
as
is a
far as-
trail, yep. So
there is a
right
trail,
here,
okay.
this is a trail that goes all the way along this.
And this is
Front.
north-south on Denmark?
It is
Sorry,
north-south on
okay.
Denmark, yep.
I always have trouble following the, okay, thank you.
Nick, did you have any other questions?
No, he got them all, I think.
Steve or Katie? I'm good.
So, sorry, one more. You're good. I'm just curious on that intersection point, why the county would be fine with full access there on an arterial like Denmark. But then you go up to 195th and we talk,
It meets
gotta
all
be
their,
roughly- it's
it
gotta be
meets all
roughly the
their
same.
spacing requirements, so that's why it's a full. Whereas the one off of
sure.
195th does not.
Okay. I see.
It's assumptive that, let's say, 20 years down the road, you start developing into Eureka, 225th, it grows. The intersection control ultimately would probably change, but just based on volume and proximity to closest access. Tony, is there, and I'm trying to remember talking to the commissioner and the CDA before, was there a projected start date of next spring, if I remember correctly?
They're projecting next year for construction. They're trying to get all their approvals this year for their financing and funding. But if Carrie Gill with the CDA is here, but I do believe it's projected for next year,
Okay.
construction.
And the development to the south, we're still assuming that that's likely not happening this year?
It'd be awful tough at this point because
Yeah.
they still have to go through final plat for them to actually start this
Right.
year.
So there's still, there's still some details between the continuity of the two.
And I do
come
know the
in
CDA
early
has
next
been
year.
in contact with Mr. Manley, so
Okay.
they are working through that formality.
Awesome. I remember Lynn and Sam, when we were up at West St. Paul looking at their building, it seemed like yesterday, I gotta imagine that was last August or September or something. Actually, you probably remember, the West St. Paul complex had opened, when was it? Last October. So we went up there and started talking, and it's amazing how quick, when we expressed interest about, CDA obviously already had property in town, but what it looked like, representatives are here, the commissioner was here, we were talking and providing input, what kind of projects, do you have the appetite for that, are attracting to the community? And here we sit today, and we're, 9 months down the road. So it's phenomenal to see that, it's good to see good things happen when you ask for them, right? So thank you for your work and putting it forward. We appreciate it. No other questions?
One if I can.
Yeah, you're good.
Is the intention then that abandoned railroad kind of meets up along the railroad line then and comes into First Street there basically? Is that development then supposed to continue? With that road, sorry, the road on the south side is the entrance. Will that get extended at some point to kind of follow that old curve, or is it literally just supposed to stop there for all eternity?
It stops here and then it goes into, it transitions south into the development. There will be a road, as you can kind of see, that kind of goes through here. This is all privately owned here, and then you have the railroad that actually owns still right-of-way along there, and the likelihood of us getting something in their right-of-way, potentially a trail. I know we've talked with them regarding a trail connection, but it would require someone to buy private property in order to.
But it's not on the comp plan to be a road now anyway. I mean, it's a kind of an obscure one, right, side street. so-
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a local street that
Yeah.
would eventually connect in,
There's it's a single parcel owner,
It
like
is.
13 acres or something.
roughly.
That's just to the east of Dakota Electric.
Yeah.
It's
I
the
know
one
it's that, like,
standalone.
pool house.
Yep, yep.
Yep.
When they proposed the or the concept for the development to the south, there was potential of interest in acquiring and developing into it and keeping the road open for that point, so.
Yep.
time
Well,
will
that's what I
tell.
was just curious, is if, because we could now talk about who pays the road and that, and if we do want to make that go on, is that supposed to be developed all the way to the eastern side then or not? But
Correct,
if that's not on the table right now, then,
correct.
or not part of the comp plan, I should say.
Okay. A good question otherwise? All right, seeing no additional questions, we'd look for a motion to adopt the attached resolution approving the preliminary final plat and authorizing the signing of the planned unit development agreement for the Denmark Housing Addition contingent upon the two aforementioned conditions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Katie,
Second.
second by Nick. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Burnjum.
Yes.
Councilmember Lean.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson.
Yes.
Councilmember Porter.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. All right, Tony. Thank you, ma'am.
We will hope for a better construction environment next year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, we appreciate it. 10B, Tony, you stand and take them. You got 10B and 10C, let's
Stay
roll.
right here.
All right,
All right. We have the preliminary plat and PUD for Meadowview Preserve, as submitted by Summergate Companies. This plat is generally located west of Troy Hill Development, north of Meadowview Elementary School off of 195th Street. This is the preliminary plat, and it's broken up into two pages, with the one on the left being the northern half and the one on the right being the southern half of the proposed development. The plat consists of 134 single-family residents on just over 61 acres of land. That equates to a net density of 3.03 units per acre. The minimum lot area proposed with this particular development is 8,119 square feet, with the average lot size in the development being 9,659 square feet in size. Minimum lot width and depth as proposed is 60 feet and 130 feet respectively. And then the proposed setbacks are front yard 20, side yard interior of 6, side corner yard of 20, rear yard of 6, and setback from arterial roads, which is 195th Street, would be 50 feet. These are all standard setbacks. They are not asking for any deviation from those. The plat does contain one outlot, and that's labeled as Outlot A on the preliminary plat. This outlot consists of floodplain, wetland, and stormwater facilities. The developer is proposing to dedicate a portion of this area for parkland. As far as transportation, there are 4 access points to this development, and they are 190th Street West, which would be extended from Everest Path to the future Street 1, Everglade Path, 193rd Street West, and access to 195th Street West. Street 1 extends north and south from 195th Street to 190th Street West. Street 2 loops on the west side of the development from Street 1, from Everglade Path to Street 1 near the southern boundary of the development. And being that this plat is adjacent to a county road similar to the CDA project, this does have to be reviewed by the Dakota County Plat Commission. and it was reviewed on May 25th. The approval was conditioned upon access at the 195th Street West location being restricted to a right-in, right-out, with a median being installed in the right-of-way of 195th Street West. So they did approve it with that condition. Parks, trails, and sidewalks. The developer is proposing to dedicate a portion of Outlot A as parkland, as I previously mentioned. The comprehensive plan does identify the preferred location for a park, a neighborhood park, near the intersection of 193rd Street and Street 1. Staff will continue to work with the developer on locating a park that is suitable in location and size. This will have to be agreed upon and addressed with the submission of a final plat for their first edition. That's kind of the one thing that's left hanging out there is the park. They did provide us a revised concept late last week, and we're currently reviewing that. So we're continuing to work towards getting that resolved. So sidewalks are shown on the north and west side of Street 2, the west side of Street 1, south side of Street 4, and south side of 193rd Street. This one, the one that's on 193rd Street should be changed to a trail, as there's an existing trail to the east. So just continuing that trail versus making a transition to a sidewalk. So there is a trail located in Outlot A that leads to the existing trail that's in 195th Street. This trail is pretty curvy as of right now. We had requested that this be straightened to make the maintenance of the trail more palatable to our employees. This, along with the park area, would have to be addressed with that final plat construction plans. As far as the preliminary planned unit development, the deviations are proposed. There are two again with this one. It is to reduce the lot size to a minimum of 8,119 square feet. Within the R1 zone, which is what this is zoned, the minimum is 10,000 square feet. And then to reduce the lot width to a minimum 60 feet, with 75 feet being the minimum for the R1 zone. I do want to mention that most of I don't believe any of the lots actually go down to 60 feet in width. Most of them are between that 64 to 67 feet in width. So just wanted to point that out. And then a planned unit development agreement will have to be approved with that initial final plat, similar to the agreement that was just approved with the CDA project. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this preliminary plat and planned unit development at its meeting on June 14th. The Commission did recommend approval of the preliminary plat and planned unit development with a vote of 4-0. We did have substantial public comment at that public hearing. Included in your packet are 2 emails that I did receive, as well as a handout that was provided to me at the meeting. Those concerns largely consist of pedestrian safety within the area, as well as increased traffic that would be potentially caused by this development. Many of those concerns were vocalized at that public hearing on the 14th, so those were the main concerns. Therefore, the action that's requested this evening is to adopt the attached resolution approving the Meadowview Preserve preliminary plat and planned unit development contingent upon the following, and those being: number 1, the satisfaction of all engineering comments, requirements, including construction plans for grading, stormwater, and utilities; and 2, to continue to work with the city on locating a neighborhood park that is of suitable size and location to the city. This must be addressed with the submission of the final plat for the first edition of this development.
All right, thank you, sir. Questions? Katie or?
Can you speak to the comments that were made at the Planning Commission meeting and how they were addressed back with the residents on their concerns?
Absolutely. A lot of the concerns were dealt with the potential of having a trail located on the east side of the site, basically on the property line, in between the existing homes and the proposed homes. The Planning Commission asked the developer to at least look at that to see if that is a possibility. I do believe the engineer is here as well as Casey. They did look at that, and I might ask if Ryan, if you might want to come up here and maybe address what you guys had previously sent me regarding the trail specifically.
Hello, my name is Ryan Bloom with Westwood. I'm the engineer on the project. And yes, there was a lot of discussion about placing a trail along the property line. We did look at it, given that the development is already proposing sidewalks and a connection to the existing trail in the development. We initially thought it was a little duplicit to have, dual, these two systems. The sidewalk that we're proposing is only an additional 120 feet west of where that trail would go, north and south. Also, we would have some grading challenges by putting it in the backyard with handling stormwater runoff, right where, we have a proposed swale there. And I also worked with our planners to kind of look at what this trail might look like, and we felt that having a corridor in the rear yard might need to be lit, right, and wouldn't be out in the open where you would have lighting and more of a public walk, and new homeowners, for privacy reasons, prefer not to have a trail necessarily in their backyard. So I think all those things being considered, we thought that the current plan was probably the better option, and maybe the more safe option by having it out in the open. And additionally, our sidewalk system then will lead itself down to the existing trail. It would not have to cross our new main entry by going from the east property line across the entrance there. It'd be more, internal to the network, and then can reach the trail that's internal to the site, to the pedestrian access. So I think we heard from quite a few residents. I think the main concern is right now most of the kids are walking across the field, to get to the entrance, and they had some concerns about now walking on a sidewalk across driveways. And I think from our standpoint, I think that's a reality of many sidewalk systems, right? I don't know, our intersections would be stop controlled, and we think it's a pretty good design as shown. If you have any questions.
I have one more question.
Yeah, yes.
How many lots would you lose if we didn't provide an approval on the deviations that are being proposed?
I guess I don't know if it's as much as lots being lost as much as if we're gonna put a trail in the back, or are we gonna put a sidewalk in the front? I mean,
I think her question is more if we go back to the traditional
Correct.
10,000 square foot,
Yep.
75-foot wide lot.
Yep.
What kind of impact that would have on the number of lots within the overall development?
Yes, thank you.
yeah, and I guess I'm not prepared to speak to that, exactly how big of an impact that would have.
I don't have an exact number either, to be honest.
Yeah.
Approximate 20,
It's gotta be somewhere close to that.
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be close to that, because this project,
You're good. For those watching at home.
yeah, sorry.
You're good.
Casey Walschlager with Summergate Development. The project's very linear, so when you achieve higher density, it works really well when you have straight streets versus very angular streets. So one of the things the benefit of this project, when you do get the smaller lots, is that you get your density build up quickly on a straight street. And this project is almost ideal for that scenario. One of the things that we went out of our way to do, though, is that a standard, like a 75-foot wide lot, would normally have maybe a 50 or 55-foot wide building pad. This project, the way we designed it, we did all the lots, like Tony said, at least 62 feet wide with the 6-foot side setbacks. That still lands us with a 50-foot pad, which allows for every kind of standard 2-story home that can be built, splits, 2 stories, whatever that would be, with a 3-car garage, without having to coming in and asking for variances for, hey, I need to build a bigger garage, or I want to add a 3rd garage. So that was very important in how we designed it, because that's still, in Minnesota, a high request item is to make sure you can do something with 3-car design. So that's kind of how we came to this. And I'll be honest, a lot of it's to do with cost efficiency. Just trying to make the cost work nowadays is extremely difficult. And having lots bigger than 65 feet is almost, I guess I haven't developed any in probably 10 years now, so. Any other
Mayor,
questions?
Can I piggyback off of Kate, just
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
he's up there now? So I know part of and I had the opportunity to watch the planning commission meeting, so I did see resident concerns. And I know part of what was addressed at the very end of the public hearing was what was sent via letter to the residents, and that was the zoning. And that's proposed zoning of R2 versus what's here right now is R1. No, can you correct that, Tony?
That's correct. On the preliminary plat, they have it listed as R2, but they have not applied for any rezoning. They are going for a planned unit development, which is an overlay to the R1 zone.
Okay, so if we
So
were
we're not
to,
changing the zoning.
if we were to look at zoning changes, we would need to approve that, is that correct? And what is R2 versus R1 as far as Councilmember Burnjom's question?
It's R1 versus R2. They're both single-family zones. It just goes to the size of the lots. So R1, you have 10,000 square foot minimum lot area with 75-foot wide lot minimum. R2, you have minimum 6,000 square feet with a 60-foot wide lot.
So essentially what they're proposing as far as deviations would fit better with R2, or not necessarily?
It would from a overall standpoint, yes. But again, that's again why you also have the PUD to allow for those deviations as well.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to actually piggyback on on that too. I just want to note that, you know, the development is definitely an attractive looking development. I think, you know, starting with Katie and continuing with Katie, you know, I'm looking at our zoning here, 10-5, 10-5-6, and, you know, clearly it's 10,000, talks about the setback, side setback. You know, if you just take that piece just by itself, you're talking about the very first development in an area that's likely to see massive housing development. Probably a little bit of retail in there too, neighborhood retail, what have you. But my concern is you've got this nice, essentially R2 development that we're making into a PUD, which is the very first one in an area. And it would not be unreasonable at all to expect that the next developer that wants to come in to say, well, yeah, I'd kind of like to take this R1 and make it an R2 or R3 and see if we can do a PUD on it. I wouldn't criticize them for wanting to do that, but I think as a city, we have our zoning districts for a certain reason. You know, this is, you know, again, first one in this area, it's an R1 zone. So I'm not comfortable making an adjustment to the R1, to be honest. The other part, and I do understand that the Plat Commission did review this. I just want it noted for the record that I don't know what the final price tag was, but in 2015, of course, we did 195th, a massive Dakota County project. Probably one of the biggest ones that the city of Farmington has seen in many, many years. And tons of public hearings. You know, obviously, transportation with Dakota County was a major part of that. Engineering and transportation with the city was a major part of that. Yes, it's a reality in a growing city that you are going to see more transportation. That's just how things go. We'd all love to see the community stay farming. So, you know, that's to be expected. So I guess with that in mind, you know, when the Plat Commission is looking at this, are we talking about, does that commission include Dakota County engineers, Dakota County transportation?
It does.
Do they understand the implication of you've got, even though it's a right in, right out, you've got a crazy busy intersection or street, especially from 7 a.m. to probably 8:30, especially from 7:30 to 8:30. And then you've got an elementary school with buses and kids and all kinds of stuff going on. I mean, I think the residents and the parents that have reached out to us have more than logical concerns about that part of it. And I just don't know how we address it.
Sure.
Because again, we have an attractive development, but it's like an attractive development that we're trying to fit in a little bit of the wrong space.
Mayor Hoyt, do you mind if I make a comment? I just
Absolutely.
wanted
I
to
don't
clarify
mind.
something.
You're good.
Thank you. Tony, could you please go back to the screen that talks about what the request is via the PUD?
Yeah.
So if you look at the R1 zone, if I'm correct, the R1 zone has the
I'm sorry.
minimum lot size at 10,000 square feet. The R2 zone, which is the next one down, is 6,000 square feet. So there is a huge lot difference between 10,000 and 6,000. If what I'm assuming is correct, they're proposing over 8,000. So they're actually going over halfway towards the R1 zone. So they're closer to that than they are to the R2 zone.
Yeah, and the minimum is that they're proposing is at 8,119, but the average is closer to that 10,000. It's just shy of that at 9,659 square feet.
So they're actually closer to meeting the zoning than not meeting the zoning. So I would just wanted to make sure that to say, well, I want to change it to an R2, there's huge implications to that because that's only 6,000 square feet. So really what they're proposing is actually closer to the R1 zone. So I think from a city staff perspective, that's why we looked at this as really being a good fit for that neighborhood because someone could come in and try to change it to an R2, which would only be 6,000 square feet. So really for this neighborhood and for this area, they're closer to an R1 than not. So from a staff perspective, you know, we appreciate them staying closer to that number rather than changing that number. And I think we do have quite a few PUDs in town. And so it's not uncommon to ask for a PUD. And so some of the things that they're asking for is very minimal compared to, I'm sure, other PUDs that we've looked at.
I think we would have more, from a staff perspective, more concern if they were looking to go down to 5,000 square feet, which we have approved in the past. Obviously, that's not the case with that, but staff did feel or is comfortable with what they are proposing for their minimums. So.
And I would say just to note for residents watching too, and specifically those that were part of the public hearing, I guess my personal concern with the development is more so the safety aspect of roadways, sidewalks, trails and such as it is zoning. As much as I appreciate the comments on that, I just want to note that those were heard and, you know, certainly a concern as a parent as well and someone who's driven those during the high traffic times of the day, specifically with growing residential. Thankfully, it sounds like we do have room within the district for, I know one of the residents had asked that question, is there room within the district for all these, you know, residential developments being added as far as kids going into our district, and thankfully, yes, there is. But just wanted to note that as well. Thank you.
Steve, anything to add?
Yeah, I did have a couple of additional comments. I guess here's my opinion. I would love to vote for this. But knowing that a new proposal came in, I mean, is this something that we could have staff and the developer work with to identify where that park's going to be, refine any discussion, if any, on trails, and kind of get some of this, I think some of this open stuff worked out. I mean, having the park in there for these homes and knowing where that's going to be, I think is a pretty big deal. And I would rather see a preliminary plat come a little bit closer to final than to leave a couple of big items open. The other question I was going to actually ask to Kelly, so yes, we can make modifications, but generally speaking, we do try to have a trail that's consistent within a development to allow for flow within, you know. And so, I mean, I do hear what the developers are saying, but I mean, it's pretty standard that we'd have a trail that would be integrated with a neighborhood to connect to the rest of our system, correct?
Correct, and they are, what they have proposed for the trail systems does show up on our 2040 comp plan as far as the trail locations. There is one additional trail that they're gonna put in at the city's expense to catch up with the main trail, north-south trail going through the development. So their trail system is good. They've identified a location for the park. Right now it's about 2.3 acres. We'd like to see it a little bit bigger. It's also in a flag shape, so not an ideal shape park for us, but I think we'll be able to work something out with them.
So when they're talking behind the backyard, Is that a secondary trail?
That would be a secondary trail.
Correct.
So
That is,
Tony, do you mind, can you pull up the whole map and show where the trail is scheduled to be? Is there any way you can pull up the full development visual and show where that trail is gonna be, and then where this backyard? I'm thinking I know where the backyard one is being referred to.
And to be clear, I believe that they removed the backyard trail. So this will not show the backyard trail because the residents were concerned, they did remove that.
Yeah,
So
fair-
this
fair
will
point.
just show the one primary trail.
Fair point.
yep, and the backyard trail is not on our comp plan.
This might be a little difficult to see, but we'll
Yeah.
we'll try.
I think it's the proposed trail, correct?
It's on, yeah, it's on pre-plat 2, I believe.
Yeah, I didn't bring our document from last week, or 2 weeks ago.
This might be really hard to see.
Do you want
It's
this,
the best-
Tony? Tony, do you
So the
want?
trail is gonna follow the west side and connect up northwest.
It
and
will,
then-
it will actually go kind of through here,
Okay,
generally speaking, through here. And then the trail that.
so it is gonna be in a backyard, but maybe a little bit further back. Per
It'll
se.
be
I mean, it's not
fur-
gonna cut through a backyard, but it's gonna
Correct.
be,
It's not gonna be a trail with homes on both sides. You're gonna have trails
Correct.
initially.
initially.
Initially,
Well,
yeah.
you have a pond or
That's
a
wetland
creek
there.
that goes through here where there's going to be a buffer on this side similar to what's on this side for floodplain. The trail's outside of the floodplain of that creek, so there's going to be a natural buffer between that versus having it, within a drainage and utility easement with two homes being 50 feet on either side of it,
Right.
so.
Tony, this is very similar to Vita Ativa, correct? This reminds me of Vita Ativa where they have it just outside the flood. They're also
For the
utilizing
trail,
it. Yep, the
correct.
trail. They're using it as a natural amenity for as you're walking through there. It does connect to the underground passageway then that will go to Meadowview. So for people whose, children live in the neighborhood, they could catch that and go straight to Meadowview underneath the road, which I'm hoping that most parents, I'm not sure if they will still drop their children off at school, but gosh, being so close, I really hope that they encourage that beautiful under road passageway to finally get some use heading over to the school.
Anything further, Steve?
so Tony, clarify, you received a revised preliminary plat that staff is reviewing?
Not a
or-
revised preliminary plat, we received a revised kind of concept plan that shows the new park area. It's not a preliminary plat, it's not the actual preliminary plat that was revised, it was just a schematic showing the park area, proposed park area.
So I mean, is it just me, or would it be completely unreasonable to wait till our July meeting to see what this looks like?
I mean, I think it's fairly common that we've approved these before with contingencies in place. And I mean, my personal feeling is I trust the city staff on something like a park and that being built in. I think you guys are capable of working with the development to fit the needs of what you would normally see in this area. And this is also preliminary, it's not final, so
Correct.
it will come back to us at a future date.
And they will have to have it worked out by that time if this does get approved tonight.
Correct.
Correct. There's still a lot of work to do between preliminary and final.
There is,
A lot.
there is.
I would probably say Steve covered most of it. I would just like to kind of agree with Steve's heartburn that I wish there was less gap between what we got between preliminary and final here. I wouldn't want you guys to get in and regrade the whole place and then have to redo something because of a park needing to change location because it was a flag shape or something like that, right? So.
Any other questions? Just a couple of points I want to make. First, this is a unique parcel, right? And it's got some topography challenges to it, and we understand that. I mean, looking at, the pre-plat and the elevation of it, you can see it's got some. Some of the initial concerns through the work session and things that we've discussed, as I understand, have been resolved. I mean, there's, safe pathways to school, right? We've taken on, or we've had a few things amended. Yes, the path to the west side of the development is not ideal, but it also follows the topography that's there without creating an unrealistic burden to a developer to have to build something where it should go, but it has means to have viability kind of zig and zag from time to time, right? The park issue, yes, between preliminary and final plat, I would like to see that resolved and I think we go back to our park survey, right? And one of the things that was identified in the park survey was a dog park. And then we talked about the referendum pieces and saying, here we've got the next development, here's an opportunity, let's consider those things. Let's consider what the feedback that we got from the survey, what our residents said they want, and, try to find a way to put an alternative option in here that does fit the topography, it does fit the plat, and it also is respective of the time in the survey results that we received. So I would hope that we find an alternative in there somewhere to make it work for all parties.
I will note, Mayor, that is a nice park idea for this area.
Sometimes square peg, round hole, right? And
So
you've
we-
got to find creative ways to find a solution, so.
We talked about a dog park and actually a disc golf course, but without parking there, there's just no way we could put either of those amenities in that location because it will be a draw, community-wide and potentially further than our own community.
Yes, it will attract people from all over Farmington, and if the neighbors already have some concerns about traffic, that could really increase those concerns, not having enough parking, so we've been mindful of that, but I appreciate the recommendations, and I'm sure Kelly does as well.
You do go back though, and you look at, land rights, and the owner of this property has the right to develop it, has the right to do what they want. And so we, as elected leaders and city staff, try to find a happy medium to ensure that they can sell and develop and do their things. And there's a financial viability to the development at the same time. I love fishing at Orchard, but there's 9 parking spots. If I ain't there by 5:30, I can't park there. And they got signs all the way up and down the streets to protect the residents from vehicles or trailers. There's a solution in there somewhere, right? There's something we can figure out to make sure all parties are good with the concept and ultimately the final plat. And I think that's just the point I was trying to make. As a point of reference, Tony, earlier we were talking about density, right? And it was shown at 3.03 homes per acre.
Correct.
The lowest form of density that we have in our future land use is 1 to 3.5.
Correct.
So this falls into the lowest density anyway. It's still, to Sam's point, on the higher end of it, so
It's the higher end, correct.
yeah. And it has the highly desirable 3-stall garage that doesn't exist in town, right? Available. I mean, you can't find them, so, I mean, they're out there, but they just, not a whole lot of new construction and available for purchasing, so.
Correct.
No, I like it. I like the changes that were made. There's still work to do, and I have no reason to believe that staff won't get it ironed out with the developer. And with that, we'd look for a motion to adopt the attached resolution approving the Meadowview Preserve preliminary plat and planned unit development contingent on the 2 aforementioned contingencies.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Katie. I will second it. So second by Hoyt. Call the roll.
Councilmember Lean,
No.
Councilmember Wilson,
No.
Councilmember Porter,
No.
Mayor Hoyt,
Yes.
Councilmember Burnjum.
Yes.
All right. We will move on to 10C.
All right, this is the final plat for Fairhill Estate at North Creek, 6th edition, as submitted by M.I. Homes of Minneapolis, St. Paul. They're proposing to plat 45 single-family lots within the, I'm sorry, it's not showing up. There we go. All right, they're proposing 45 single-family lots within the 6th edition. The 45 lots are located at the southeastern corner of the development at the intersection of Colonial Trail and Crystal Terrace. This is a copy of the final plat that's in your packet. These 45 lots are the remaining lots of the 244 overall single-family lots that were approved with the preliminary plat for this development. The 6th edition does correspond with that plat. The average lot size is 8,897 square feet, with 17,167 square feet being the largest and 5,200 being the smallest. The plat does contain one outlot, that's Outlot A, and it is a remnant parcel. All rights-of-way for Clearwater Loop, Colonial Trail, 194th Street, Crimson Way, and Crystal Terrace were platted as part of the 4th edition, so this is literally just platting the lots, the remaining lots. All remaining roads, sanitary sewer, water, and storm sewer for the development were constructed and installed with the 4th and 5th editions. Plan Commission did review the final plat at its meeting on June 14th and did recommend approval with a 4-0 vote. The action as requested this evening is to adopt the attached resolution approving the Fairhill Estate at North Creek 6th edition. Final plat contingent upon the following, and that being a development contract between the applicant and City of Farmington shall be executed and security fees and costs shall be paid. Submission of all other documents required under the development contract shall be required.
All right, any questions? Nick? Katie?
Nope.
Katie?
I have none, thank you, Tony.
Steve?
None.
And just for point of reference, this is a PUD, correct?
It is, correct.
Okay. And what's the approximate lot size again?
In this, it varies from 17,000 down to 5,200.
Okay. I have no questions. Look for motion to adopt attached resolution approving the Fairhill Estate at North Creek 6th edition, final plat contingent upon the following. The first provision, the development contract between the applicant and the City of Farmington shall be executed and security fees and costs shall be paid. Submission of all other documents required under the development contract shall be required.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Steve.
Second.
Second by Katie. Call the roll.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Porter,
Yes.
Mayor Hoyt,
Yes.
Councilmember Burnjum.
Yes.
Councilmember Lean.
Yes.
All right. And bear with me here for a second. Kelly, you've got 12A, accept bids and award a contract for the Mystic Meadows Trail Reclamation Project, Park and Rec.
All right, good evening, Mayor and council members. We are here to talk about the Mystic Meadows Trail Reclamation Project. So the project location is in the Mystic Meadows neighborhood. There are two segments of trails that we are proposing to reclaim this summer. These trails were installed in 2005. Unfortunately, the willows have destroyed these trails and they're in poor condition. So we are planning to reclaim them. Bolton and Mink is the project engineer, so I've been working with Matt Blazer on this project. They developed the final contract or construction plans and specifications. They did the bidding, both online and in-person plans. They will be handling the construction administration once we award the contract, which includes observation of the construction, tracking of the quantities, coordination with the contractor, public communication about the trail being closed, the project, etc., and also the project closeout. A little bit about the project details. They will be reclaiming the existing trails, both of those sections. In total, it's about 2,300 linear feet of trail. They will be installing a root barrier on the water side. This will be the first time we've done this within the City of Farmington. We are going to use a product called BioBarrier. Lakeville uses it on their trails and has it's been well received for them. So we're going to do it with this project as well. They will pave a new bituminous trail. We will be installing ADA compliant pedestrian upgrades. They are anticipating a 3-week project. We gave them a window to complete it by October 15th of this year. I did talk to Matt this afternoon. The contractor or the potential contractor said they're planning mid to late August construction, so it wouldn't be at the end of the season, hopefully. So we did receive 6 bids as identified in your packet, which was, we were very happy with 6. When Matt and I talked early in the bidding, he was, saying, we're a little bit later in the season. It might be more like 2, but we did receive 6 bids, so we were happy with the 6 bids. So what we're asking for tonight is to accept the bids and award a contract for construction of the Mystic Meadows Trail Reclamation Project to Minnesota Roadways Company of Shakopee in the amount of $136,587.44, and authorize the mayor and city administrator to execute the same. One other thing I'd mention, the engineer's estimate on the trail was about $125,000. The biggest change was oil prices going up over the last few weeks when we put the bid out and when they were due, causing the asphalt to go up. So that was where we saw the biggest increase, was just due to oil. I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Katie or Nick, any questions?
I have probably an unrelated one to the trail. You said you were surprised to get that many bids, and I remember hearing something very similar about the Spruce Street, that you got more bids than you were surprised. Is there like a general trend of things slowing down in road construction with?
Well, I think it has to do with the timing of when we went out to bid too. It was a little later than most projects.
But you usually get less bids though,
Right.
So you're getting surprised by number of bids, but.
Right, we're getting surprised with as many bids as we're getting.
Right. Do you have a reason why you think you're getting surprised by it, I guess?
No, I guess I don't.
No, Matt didn't say why he thought, was surprised by how many we got, but yeah, was happy with 6 bids. And obviously reach out to companies, and invited them and encouraged to bid on the project.
I just didn't know if this thing where other cities are slowing down their road construction for cost reasons or something like that.
So
We should maybe keep on the
Farmington's so
radar.
great to work with. Everybody wants to work here.
I'll take that.
Okay.
We've had a lot of discussions about this area of town, especially with regards to the pond there, and so I'm glad to see you have a focus on this. And while it's only about $1,000 over what we budgeted for this year, I'm glad you're making good use of the increase in dollars that we allocated into this year's budget to get this project done. So thank you.
Katie or Steve?
Yeah, can you go back to the map, Kelly?
Sure.
So I would definitely agree with Councilmember Bernbaum. So the trail portions shown, how much additional trail is in the area, and is none of it affected by the willows?
In that neighborhood, basically, that is all the trail.
Okay.
There was one trail on the other side that was torn out, from my understanding, a few years ago. And now there's just a small section that leads to the pond, but that is all the trail around the pond there.
Okay.
So we're replacing basically all of it.
So we feel pretty confident based on the success Lakeville's had with the new product that we're hoping, cross our fingers, we feel pretty good about the new product.
We are hoping, because if it works, we have a number of other trails that we need to address. I rode my bike last week at Jim Bell Park and through the preserve, and it needs the same thing there if this works.
Good. Well, I appreciate your initiative on this.
Okay.
I have no questions. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate this.
And just to stay on that same point, I mean, we've been round and round, not just with Mystic Meadows, but other areas surrounding our stormwater ponds and our marsh areas and our outlots, that whether it's willows or buckthorn, call it whatever invasive species you want, if we don't have a good plan for the constant maintenance of it, it's law of diminishing returns, right? It's gonna be great now, but in 5 years, they'll be breaking up again. And I mean, I know my backyard, I've spent 6 years pulling buckthorn every single year, and it still just comes back. It's just making sure that we have our hands wrapped around that and a firm grasp of the management of the shorelines going forward, so that we don't, we get full return on the investment for the residents there. Big deal. And I know you will, so. With that, look for a motion to accept the bids and award of contract for construction of the Mystic Meadows Trail Reclamation Project to Minnesota Roadways Company of Shakopee in the amount of $136,587.44, and authorize the mayor and city administrator to execute the same.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Steve.
Second.
We'll go second by Nick. Call the roll.
Councilmember Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Hoyt?
Yes.
Councilmember Bernbaum?
Yes.
Councilmember Lean?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson?
Yes.
All right. Roundtable, who wants to start?
I'll start. Just,
You're
you know,
good.
so Nick doesn't have to.
I know, I'm relieved.
So just wanted to note that on the consent agenda, we had approved a number of election judges, excuse me. So just wanted to thank those residents for stepping up for that. That's a really important role, and we're very appreciative. Also, due days kicks off tomorrow, not to steal everybody's roundtable item, but starts tomorrow with, I believe, medallion hunt and coronation at Bachman of the ambassadors, which is a fun thing to do now that we've passed 2 years on without having new ambassadors. So I know all those girls have put a lot of work into it and would love your presence there as well. I believe that's all I had, other than Kelly will probably touch on some of the parks maintenance and thank her crew, but I wanted to thank her and her crew from council for all the hard work on prettying up downtown and all the maintenance that you guys do specifically in this heat. So appreciate you guys. That's all I have.
Katie? Got anything?
I don't have anything much more to add. I'm excited to check out some of the due day events this weekend, and very appreciative for everyone that's been putting in the time to put that together.
Nick?
I guess with due days, yeah, be safe, be responsible. Your Thirsty Thursday event, right? You don't want to meet our police department the wrong way. Have a sober ride. I don't like giving favoritism to one sports group over another, but congratulations to the baseball team. I did get to go to Target Field and sit there and have a really nice night of baseball. Didn't turn out quite the way we wanted, but it's really cool when everyone's sitting next to you in the row as you're like, oh, it's my son's teacher. Versus, you know, a Twins game. So congratulations to you guys. I mean, I hope they hold their heads high. Even second best in the state is still something to be proud of. So,
Steve?
Yeah, I'll start off with what Nick finished with. Yeah, I was at the whole playoff run and a couple of the section games, and you know, kudos to Coach Graff, the whole coaching team, the players. I mean, they won it last year. It was awesome, and to finish second in the state, make it to the finals 2 years in a row is awesome. So congratulations to all of them. I do want to recognize Cindy too. Cindy, I think, was a key part of us getting 51 election judges, and Cindy, just thank you so much. You do. You know, I don't think the average person in the community knows how much work Cindy does for elections. She likes to hide behind the scenes, but she's as knowledgeable as anybody in Dakota County and anywhere with elections. So thank you so much. I'm going to thank the police department for a very bizarre way. Now, Lynn already knows this story, but I am going to thank the police department more as a point of reference that no matter what the situation is, you can definitely depend on our police department. So I was at Holiday gas station last week, filling up the gas for my son to take to work. And I always take my dog with me, you know, because my dog loves to go in the car wash. So I'm up at Holiday gas station, filling up my gas tank, pay at the pump, and my dog locked herself in the car. And so I have to thank Officer Rubens for coming up there, trying to coax our dog into
unlocking the door,
stepping on the door, and she finally did. And I was like, gosh, thank you. Because, I mean, it just would have been embarrassing to call and I didn't even have my cell phone with me, so it made matters worse. So I just want to thank Officer Rubens for that. Definitely appreciated. So last point I would make, Kelly, I really appreciate you bringing our new employees. Welcome to you new employees. Really happy to have you guys here. And, you know, maybe as a note, and I think we do this as standard practice, but maybe as a note to Julie and Lynn, you know, definitely if we have new employees that come in, we want to give them an opportunity to come. Doesn't mean that they'll want to, but certainly give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. So
This is our new tradition.
Yep, I like it. I like it.
I apologize to butt in, but I just thought of something else I think we'd be remiss as a council to not mention, that I believe, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we had a lacrosse team and a volleyball team also go to state. So congratulations to all of those athletes as well. Yes? Okay, good.
Great.
Leah?
In an effort to find something to talk about at Roundtable, did you guys know, this is legal related, the state soil is called Leicester soil. It was designated in 2012. So
interesting.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Factoids, we like them. Julie.
I will share a few personnel updates. So we had 19 applications for the human resource specialist position. We've gone through them, and so we'll be interviewing next Wednesday. Our public works director position will close this Friday, so we've scheduled initial interviews for July 14th, and we will post this week's for our parks recreation supervisor position.
Good deal.
Right.
Lynn?
Give you some voting updates. We have voter pre-registration that ends on July 19th. Residents can pre-register online at menvotes.org. Absentee voting for the primary election begins Friday, June 24th. And then the state primary is Tuesday, August 9th. Candidates filing for 2 council seats take place on August 2nd through the 16th at City Hall. And like to remind everybody, we are not planning on having a council meeting on July 5th. And DSI has asked if I could give a communication out for those residents that have not signed up for their account information yet to be, for their invoices. They can email their information to info@dicksanitation.com or by calling 952-469-2239. And also, I would like to say welcome Jay and Austin and Julie to the Farmington team. And we definitely are hiring top-notch employees, and we're very excited to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you. Sam?
So tomorrow is actually my 1-year anniversary here in the city of Farmington. And when I was hired, part of the reason that I think that you wanted to hire me was really for the relationships that I have, whether it's with city staff or developers or my staff or businesses. And so I've appreciated leadership and as a council, you always really being positive and really wanting to work on these relationships. And I really hope that we continue moving things forward. It is hard to see a developer now tonight leave, obviously feeling that maybe something could have been done differently from staff side. So I feel bad if that developer looks poorly upon us. But I would really, if there's something from a council that you would like to see in future developments, please be sure to let us know so that we can make sure that our zoning code is updated or our comp plan is updated or whatever it needs to be so that we are getting the developments that are best for town. As I said, we work diligently, and I want to thank Tony for his time and all of staff's time. It is unfortunate to me that the developer walked out tonight because I don't know that that makes me feel good about some of the stuff that I've worked on this past year, but I really want to work to make that better. And so any feedback that you have that you want to share with me or my staff, I would appreciate hearing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly?
Thank you to Councilmember Porter and your son for painting the chairs at Deepaway Arts Park last week. We really appreciated it. It took a load off of our staff that you guys went out there and did that. So thank you very much. Thank you to Hale Nutrition, Jessica and Chad. They brought teas out to some of the park maintenance workers today. Sorry, Austin, doesn't sound like you got one, but thanks to Hale Nutrition for doing that. Due days, it's this weekend. You still have time to put money in your favorite Kiss the Pig candidates jar. We have a bike auction on Saturday. We have Cuckoo Kangaroo. There's a number of fun events planned, so I hope to see you at Due Days this weekend.
Thank you. Chris?
Working on wrapping up May's monthly financial statements, working on 2023 budget, and I think we should be getting our preliminary tax settlement tomorrow too from the county, so that's pretty much what we're working on.
Thank you. Tony, you've had a busy night, but anything to add? No? You guys all hit on a couple of really good points. I mean, youth sports and there's a lot of stuff going on. Due Days it's the culmination of 6 months of work. So weather looks to be in our favor starting Thursday night. Yes, the medallion hunt starts tomorrow. We have the ambassador program at 6:30 at Bachman in the auditorium. I think the tickets are relatively inexpensive for that, but that's a fundraiser for the ambassador program. And then leading into Thursdays and, beer brats and bingo and all of the events on Saturday. Car cruise, couple of bands. You said Cuckoo Kangaroo. There's a artesian craft fair. There's, I think there's 14 or 15 food trucks that are lined up. There's a lot of stuff going on. So we always ask for volunteers. You'll see us wearing orange t-shirts. We'll be there from basically sun up, sundown from midday Monday through end of the parade on Sunday. Feel free to come down and help out. If not, sign up for next year because we could use the help. With that, we look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Motion by Katie, second by Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:09.